Morena, good morning. Welcome to the Punters Lounge Live, the Larchy Downs, bringing you the punting show that will take you today to Ruakaka, also to Trentham, across the Tasman to our Australian correspondents that will speak about Caulfield and Rose Hill. And we will join Stephen Hunt, who will give us the latest bookmaker information. Yes, it's a show about winners, and great to hear the news 6 weeks ago that the Larchy Downs are shuttling US Navy flag for the breeding industry here in NZ. Okay, on Wellington Hurdle and Steeplechase Day at Trentham, and also another good day of winter racing in store at Ruakaka. We've got some guests that we'll be bringing you. We'll be joined by Chris Gibbs and also Sean Phelan to talk about their respective cards. But right now, Stephen Hunt at the racing desk. Good morning to you. Can you tell us about some of the money moves that have piqued your interest this morning?
Good morning, JC. Contrasting track conditions up and down the country. A dead track at Whangarei and at Heavy 11 on the backyard here at Trentham. But heading to Trentham, one of the features on the flat today, the parliamentary race number 6, it is number 6, race 6, number 6. Richard of York has been very well supported. As soon as we opened this market on Wednesday from memory, Jason, opened at $4, now been backed into $3.80 and looks set to start a warm favourite in the parliamentary. Richard of York back over a staying trip. And up at Ruakaka in race 3, number 7, Von Trapp. Now, won a rating 65 2 weeks ago on this course, up to 82 level, so up 2 full grades, but punters not put off there around Von Trapp, who looks to be a pace influence in the race. Opened at $3 on Thursday, it's been backed into $2.40.
Yeah, really interesting information that, and that might go some way to sorting out the map of that race with that money lead. Might be indicating that they're going to ride the horse aggressively with positive intent. Okay, Stephen Hunt, the turbo terminating pick 6 Saturday continues with $100,000 guaranteed. The last 3 races at Trentham and at Ruakaka starting at 5 minutes past 3. For each of those pick 6 legs, have you managed to find a runner that sort of the market's honed in on?
Yeah, look, they're not necessarily the best back runners, Jason, on all these legs we're going to bring up graphically, but they're horses that maybe sit in that middle market as well, or maybe in that second, third, fourth line of betting that have accumulated a bit of money in the first 48 or so hours of trading. And look, leg 1, I had to go with Richard of York, who is started favourite, which I mentioned at the top of the show, 4 into 380 in the first leg, and potentially you could go skinny in that leg if you wanted just to take Richard of York. I know it's a little bit dangerous being the first leg and all, but he has been clearly the best back runner in the parliamentary. And leg 2, race 6 at Ruakaka, Poker Face, one of the locals who got the bickies 2 weeks ago, money reinvesting around Poker Face, sits in that third line of betting, currently at a $4.20 price at the Whangarei Cup. Leg 3, Our Bandit. Now, Our Bandit in the white handicap and that fourth line of betting currently at a $6 price. That's the one that's been a market mover in the last 24 hours, and in particular this morning. It could have got around about $7, now $6. Our Bandit, who does have a very good record at Trentham on the heavy 11 conditions. Leg 4, Ruakaka race 7, Copper Mine. Now, key draw around Copper Mine has drawn the ace and did open second favourite earlier in the week, now stands alone at that top line of betting at round about a $4.20 price off a peak of $5, Copper Mine. Leg 5, Trentham race 8, Call Me Jack. Now, this is one that's been specced in the middle market. It won its maiden at Wanganui by 15 lengths. Now, I know you can't read too much into times, and you have to go with a little bit on the eye and have a bit of faith on the eye when it wins by 15 lengths around Call Me Jack. But that's one that believe punters can step up to rating 65 company on the back of a maiden win. And if you're lucky to be alive in leg 6 up at North at Ruakaka race 8. Now, Our Wonderland at a $13 price has been well specced in that middle market. Now, that is not the best back runner in leg 6. That stands with Makataka, who's currently a $2.30 favourite off a higher $2.60 and holds around about 70% of total turnover, Makataka. But if you didn't want to make that as your potential loaner, I suggest you include Our Wonderland, who sits currently at $13, Jason, which I know you didn't mind.
Yeah, I thought it was a little sneaky upset chance, but on one ticket you'd have to think that Makataka could be an anchor. Could it be similar, Stephen, to last week where we saw an early anchor and a late anchor, well, on paper, actually delivering for those that did that?
Helena Baby in the first leg, and I think it was Obsessive winning the last at Our Pony, and that's the dilemma you take. I think it's a key that maybe potentially if you've got the funds you can take 2 or 3 separate tickets. I know it can be a bit daunting loaning a horse in the first leg because you want to be alive and have your money worth going into maybe at least leg 2 and leg 3. But I think that has to go outside the door. You just got to look at the 6 races, doesn't matter where they fall, and look at the best potential loaner, even though it could potentially come in leg 1 with Richard of York. So no, it's fascinating. I don't think it's going to get to the 350k this week, Jason. We don't have a starting pool of 100,000, but hopefully it can get close to that 200 mark.
Yeah, that'd be outstanding. Thanks, Stephen. We'll be checking in with you throughout the rest of the Punters Lounge Live morning for those market moves when we go through our race-by-race previews with Bevan Sweeney and also Matthew Cross at Trentham and Ruakaka, respectively. Giving you the weather the weather and track conditions, I should say, for firstly our meeting 4 venue. Featured jumping day at Trentham. Race number 3 is the Arnica Smoker Wellington Hurdle at 20 minutes past 1. And race number 5 at 2:30 is the Grant Plumbing Wellington Steeplechase. So it's fine and expected to be fine today with a bit of breeze, northerlies strengthening, the track heavy 11, and you would expect it to be testing. We'll find out what that inside track is like when we join Bevan. Running rail is out 5 metres for the biggest jumping day of the year at Trentham. So that's meeting 4 at Ruakaka, betting on the meeting code of 2. Fine with evening cloud, northerly breezes. There's been a little bit of rain in the north over the past 24-48 hours. The track is a dead 6 and the running rail is out 4.5 metres. Race number 6 is the ITM Jib Whangarei Gold Cup, also opening the program. Very handy 1,000-metre race for the 2-year-olds. A couple of trialists there that have interest. Okay, so that's your weather track and scratchings for the 2 New Zealand venues. When the Punters Lounge Live continues, we'll dial up Chris Gibbs to get the team's best at Ruakaka. It's like I just can't miss. I was made for this. I show the world I'm stronger. Prove it to them I'm a fighter. I can't help but win.
As they get to the 100 metres, Vinevale got the best run in the race. Lovely ride. Vinevale will win the first.
And of course, this is win number 1 for the new training partnership of Gibbs and Bradley. So well done to the team.
It's been a year for the Gibbs-Bradley training partnership for Logan Racing based out of Ruakaka. Chris Gibbs joins us on the Punters Lounge Live. My word, where's that 12 months gone, Chris?
Yes, that's right.
How good has it been?
No, it's been a good year. Things are a bit quieter, of course. Donna's doing well over in Singapore, and our numbers aren't anywhere near what we usually have. So we're a little bit quieter since then, and I think we're just going to sort of stay like that from now on. But that's okay. I don't mind that at all.
Ramping up today, what conditions present when you look outside? What's the weather like?
Yeah, beautiful day, Jason. Stunning day, actually. We had a bit of a miserable day yesterday, so I was pleased to get that out of the way. So I think we've certainly got lucky with the weather today.
In the first, the 2-year-old race over 1,000 metres, you presented debutante Annie Song, who in the most recent trial was pretty handy. Is $3.20 at the moment. Maybe a show-off is $2.50, and on paper he looks hard to beat. Tumbleweed brings in reasonable form lines. The daughter of Super Easy, that's $4.40. Diva Express is at $6, won a couple of starts ago at Avondale. But speaking about Annie Song, what have you made of the daughter of Darcy Brahma's sort of progression?
I've got a huge amount of time for her. I see she's quite short in the market, which I was a little bit surprised about. We scratched her last time because basically the same owners owned the 2 fillies we had in at the last meeting, and we had a little chat and we thought, oh no, we'll just split them apart. And this is not a stronger field today as well, so it's worked out okay. But yeah, just showing that the race on TV, the trial, it was a really good trial. Whether she's a genuine sort of wet tracker, I don't think so. She's got a pretty efficient sort of an action on her, so I think you'll see her running on. But she's got a lot of ability. I've got a lot of time for her, actually, really a lot of time for her.
So the way that she was sort of ridden in the trial is sort of the expectation that that's how you might sort of consider riding her today?
Oh, look, I think she'll just wherever she jumps. So we'll just tell Craig to be comfortable. I mean, she's drawn out, so and then you know that there is speed in there. We know that certain ones are going to go forward. There's no use trying to take on anything. I just want to. She's always shown us she's going to be a really nice 3-year-old filly. So there's no need to be pushing buttons. It's more just a starting point, and then see where we go from there. So, but I've certainly got a lot of time for it.
Race number 2 is the Fell Engineering 1200 for the maiden gallopers, and two-handed in this. The Gibbs-Bradley combination, Quintuple Twins, is at $5.50. She's a daughter of Sebring, and Sweet Soraya, horse 13, is a daughter of Ocean Park, who's at 25-1. Massachusetts and Lily Dore share favouritism there at $3.50. Starting with Quintuple Twins, Chris, at Ruakaka. After being freshened, she ran 6th and was a bit of an eye-catcher. What did you make of that run?
Yeah, Jason, I'm sorry you cut right out there for quite a bit. I got the last few words. I'll just go with it. Both the fillies went well, but Sweet Soraya just needed more distance. But unfortunately, this wasn't the race for her, so we've left her in 1200 for now with the idea of moving her up. Quintuple Twins, I thought she went good. She's matured a lot, that filly, and we've put the blinkers on today, back on. So I'd hope to think that she could run a much better race today. But I think probably both fillies looking for a little bit more ground. But as I just said, there really wasn't a race for them, and I didn't think they were either of them needed to be going on heavy tracks. So here we are, and there's probably better chances in there than us, but I'm happy with my fillies here.
Speaking about Quintuple Twins and the fact that the blinkers go on, have you sort of had her working in blinkers in the lead-up?
Yes, and she worked very well. So the big thing with her is she's always been a filly that doesn't really breathe that well. And so when I say that, it just means that if she gets hunted out of the gates too hard and goes forward, she may just try and run on one breath, and they just can't do that. So the big thing with her is trying to have her, in the race as best we can without bustling it too hard. So it's a little bit awkward, but that's something that's going to we'll have to rely on the jockey when we leg up. So I think if she can do that, then she's a chance, definitely.
Would you say that the market's probably right with Quintuple Twins, the better of the chances, given what you mentioned about Sweet Soraya probably needing more ground? Yeah,
and if Sweet Soraya had probably drawn a fraction better, we might have sort of perhaps tried to put it forward into the race. But drawn 10, I think we're going to have to hope for a little bit of luck from there. I think she'll be hitting the line well, but I'd be waiting for her to get up over a little more ground.
Race number 4 is the ITM Jib, 1,600 metres, and a very promising horse lines up here. Amazing As is $2.70 and favourite. $3.90 Light Shadow. Go Nicholas is at $4.20. Just how pleased were you, Chris, with what you saw from Amazing As when he resumed?
Well, I think that the run was huge. He's going to be better as he gets over more ground. I think he's dead set stayer. But a very exciting horse. He always has shown us a lot. He had a little niggly injury. That's why his form went off. So I'm not going to blame the horse at all for that. It was a mystery for a little while, but he had a long time off, and he resumed very well, I thought. Typical sort of a stayer resuming. Look, I'd like to think that if he, in a small field, as long as he doesn't get too far off them, he's definitely a winning chance. It's a smart field. He's out of his class. You'd like to, I'd be more confident if it was 2,000 metres. But when you've been off the scene for so long, you can't just be jumping them straight up over ground. So here we are at the mile, and he's definitely a winning chance. I mean, his work's been amazing. It's more its gate speed that probably would be the thing that might be his Achilles heel a little bit over a mile. But I could not be happier with the horse, and he's such an exciting horse. If he goes on and stays nice and sound, hopefully he can do what Sacred Day did, being as and more. That'd be nice.
Yeah, for sure. Outstanding performance from Sacred Day to win the Grafton Cup a couple of days ago. Just speaking on Amazing As, even though you mentioned sort of it's going to get up over ground, he certainly indicates that he's got enough brilliance and a turn of foot for him to be, seriously a good chance of winning over 1,600.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, we love the horse. He's when Donna bought him at the yearling sales and bought well. He's just an exciting prospect and real laid-back customer, but normally, and he's on his toes in his work and bouncing off the track. So I think we've left enough life in his legs. He's not too dour to perform well over a mile. He's definitely a winning chance, absolutely.
At 3:24, we'll see the running of race number 6. It's the ITM Jib Whangarei Cup, and in this race, he's Cavalier, shares favouritism with Red Cayenne. We've heard from Stephen Hunt that there has been good support around Poker Face, and I suppose barrier 1 again, Chris, maybe the luck has started to turn for Poker Face. Got luck last time and duly delivered. Has everything training-wise been all good for it?
Yeah, we've in between runs going into that last race, we just kept them on the beach, didn't even go near the track as far as gallops go or anything, and he stepped from a mile to up over ground for the first time and showed a really good turn of foot and finished it off too, which was nice. You know, sometimes they get to the front and these sort of horses and they suddenly think that that's the job done, but I thought he found the line. Now, you know, to be fair to everything else, he had the best run along the inside, so having drawn in there again, I guess it's up to Trudy to work out whether you know those sort of opportunities are going to present themselves. Sometimes, as you know, Jason, you could be just sitting there and hoping that it's going to all open up, and then everyone's basically pulling their hair out. You're going, why didn't you come out? So it's a difficult one from the draw, but if he could run as well as he did last time, he's a huge chance. I just feel that he's Cavalier at the weights. With Cowhara coming into it, I think it's just pushed that weight down far enough where I think that horse is probably a better chance than us. That's my thoughts, but certainly our horse is in there in very, very good order.
It's good to hear that Poker Face is in good order for that race, that's for sure. Race number 7, 3 horses in this rating 72 for the Gibbs Bradley training combination. It's the Northland Business Systems, 1400. Copper Mine's $4.20. Bound to be on, it's at $5, with Mum's Jewel at $5. Well, yeah, it's just changed to $5. Bruegel at $6.50. Also for Gibbs Bradley, outside of Mum's Jewel, is Not Usual Heart and Boogie Easy. What are you hoping for from Mum's Jewel today, Chris?
Look, I think the form around her from her previous runs, is very good. If Londrat goes on and wins again, it franks the form quite well. I wouldn't be too worried about that last run. I thought it was a good run. It may not have looked as impressive or anything the way that she went, but to be fair, she was just crying out for 1400 before that, and she probably almost wants a little bit of a wetter track too, without going into the heavy stuff. So 1400 today is going to suit beautifully. I think that's what she's looking for. So I'm far more sort of confident about her chances going into this race than I probably was last time. I think we just gave her a run hoping that she'd still do 1200, but they might have just been a bit slick at that class. So 1400 is going to suit her better. And as for the other ones, not Usual Heart, we're just hoping she can turn that form around. She's another one that if you've seen some previous runs from Whangarei earlier in her career, she's come from last, and we just have to sort of ride her a little bit like that, because she's another one that tries to hold her breath the whole time. It's very, very difficult with those ones. So you've got to be a bit careful. So she'll be getting back even from that draw, probably back a little bit. And Boogie Easy, well, her run was all right. She just did too much. I mean, Trudy sort of, we did say go forward, and so it's not her fault by any means. That's why she's, we wanted Trudy to ride her again. I just think from the draw she's going to get a better positioning in the race, and she's certainly not out of it. I think we've brought it back to 1400, not because I don't think she'll get the mile. I just think there wasn't really a race for her at this meeting, so we've rolled the dice and brought it back a fraction and freshened her a touch. So she's certainly not out of it, but I think Mum's Jewel's probably the best of the three.
Okay, good to get those thoughts on those 3 runners, and I agree with you about the draw for Boogie Easy. It just might allow her to settle in a good position without doing nearly as much work as what she had to do through circumstances last time, and that could see her really fight out the finish at Boogie Easy. Nice price. Race number 8, 4 horses for the Gibbs Bradley training combination. We're speaking with Chris Gibbs on the Punters Lounge Live this Saturday morning, and Makataka is $2.30, and this horse, Chris, you've come on the show before. You've been very open about the opinion that you hold the horse in. And last time at Ruakaka, he was quite brilliant. Has he sort of come out of that okay?
Yes, he has actually. This was a really lovely race for him. Just to wait for this nice special conditions race. I guess he deserves to be favourite. He's a very, very nice horse. The nice thing about him is, you just love to see those horses that can sort of sit just about anywhere and show this turn of foot and pick up and really hit the line hard. And there's not many of them around. They don't just do that. And I think he's got that little bit of X factor about him, so that's nice. The draw is obviously awkward. Matty Cameron, it's going to be interesting to see how he jumps as to where Matthew probably pops him. I don't think we're going to make too many plans as such because he has got that turn of foot. But I wouldn't want to see him getting too far back if we can help it. I'd be happier to see him 3 wide with a bit of cover than getting right back and just to try and save a spot. So he's definitely the number one horse of ours to go for. Definitely, he's just a lovely horse.
How about a horse like Chapeau, a horse that's been there in maiden company, hasn't broken through yet, so can you fault her in her work?
Not at all. Not at all. Tough race. I mean, gee, if she could break maidens in this, we've always thought that she's just a filly that I'd really love to get up over ground. And I wouldn't say frustrating as such. I just think that she's had a few little reasons why with runs and different things why she can't quite crack that maiden. So it's a tough one to try and break your maidens in. But she deserved to have a go at it. It's a nice race here, and then the races get a bit weaker and a bit easier as we go on. But in the season for us up here, so she'll get her chance. But she deserved to have a go. She's down in the weights being a filly. Craig, good rider on her. He's ridden there before. So and she's got a beautiful draw. So I just see her. She's very professional, and that's the big thing with her. I think that there will be pace in the race, of course, with Prom King in there. I don't think he knows anything other than to go forward and lead. It's just whether anything takes him on and whether it really pushes him along. He's certainly going to be probably the obvious leader, I would think. So, and if Chapeau can be sort of just sitting there or thereabouts and just show a little bit of a turn of foot, then she's got to be a chance, definitely.
How do you align Makataka Chapeau with your other 2 runners in that particular race?
Well, I think Call Me Murphy, to be fair to him, I think he's a horse I'm dying to get him over ground. Same thing. I'm a bit loath to try and take him onto a heavy track just, to try and prove a point, and it could all be a disaster. I'll just forgive him for that last one. It was about the only race where they did. It was the same thing, sort of Prom King and Boogie. There's a few that went forward and really put pace on, and the winners in the second and the horses came from pretty much last, or at least right back in the field. It was one of the few races of the day where they peeled out and really just stormed down the outside and put paid to the rest of the field. So we sort of had this idea that we'd ride him forward and just see how we got on. And the young fellow that rode him, young Taiki, had to step into Cameron's shoes because he got hurt. But and full credit to Taiki, he rode the horse exactly how we wanted him to. So it wasn't his fault. The horse I just think he did a little bit much, kept trying to get forward. So he'll be ridden a little bit quieter today and hope that the pace is on again. And I'd just like to see him hitting the line so I can get him up over ground. He's in good order. I can't fault the horse. And My Sky, well, she's probably, to be honest, other than Makataka, all the horses that worked on Tuesday, she's probably one of the ones that worked the best. So I think the 2 zeros beside her name don't really show her ability. She's probably my little roughy one to throw into some multiples for your punters. Purely because she's drawn better. I don't know what happened with her. She just keeps drawing wide, so she's drawn quite well. Rowena, I'm just going to have to try and see if we can just get her a little bit handier in the run. She's a big striding mare, and just give her a nice clear ear, pull her out and give her a chance, and then there's no excuses then. So, yeah, her blinker's on, of course, for the first time, so that's made a difference to her and her work as well.
Great information, Chris. Really appreciate that. So 13 My Sky at a bit of odds for those that maybe can afford to go wider in the terminating Turbo Pick 6, or for those taking multiples. Okay, 12 runners for you and Michelle across the program. This is the time on the Punters Lounge Live where we ask you to give us your best.
I've always loved Amazing As. I just think he's a really, really exciting staying proposition, and I think that even though it's only a mile, he can win, and I love the horse, so he's got to be the one that I'll put out as my number 1 pick.
Really appreciate your time this morning. Chris Gibbs has just given us his best, amazing as, on the Punters Lounge Live. To summarise for Chris Gibbs and Michelle Bradley, there are a dozen horses today at Ruakaka. In race 1, they have Annie Song at the moment $3.20, 2 Quintuple Twins, Sam Spratt $5.50. In that same race, Sweet Soraya Craig Grills is at 23. Amazing as, Chris's best, is $2.70 right now. In race 4, Poker Face, Trudy Thornton is at $4.20. The first of 3 horses in race number 7 is Mum's Jewel, Matthew Cameron, that's at $5. In race 7 as well, Boogie Easy is at the bottom, and also Not Usual Heart. $23 for Not Usual Heart, and Boogie Easy is at $16. And in the last race, 4 horses. Makataka, the best back runner with tab.co.nz, is $2.30. Call Me Murphy is $16. Chapeau's $9.50. And Chris just suggested that 13 My Sky could run better than her price suggests. The blinkers on today is $17, and one of the better workers out of the stable during the week leading into this 8-race card at Ruakaka. Also got an 8-race card at Trentham, featured Jumps Day, Wellington Hurdles and Wellington Steeples.
Stand up and cheer. That's been a ripping jumping display from Elder Sparrow. He put on a clinic. Elder Sparrow won by 4. Lacustra coming after Just Got Home, but age will not weary. Just Got Home wins again. Maestro Blue is racing away the last bit. Far too good. Elvin's Dream in the colours of the late Gary Timms, and it's clear. Elvin's Dream from C-Max, and Elvin's Dream will win the last.
Sean Phelan, he was able to cap off the day, and he wins the last with Elvin's Dream to make 4 winners for the program.
Well, he's certainly the high weight jock is Sean Phelan, and he joins us now on the Punters Lounge Live on his way to Trentham Gardens for a featured Jumps Day there. Good morning, Sean. How are you feeling?
Morning, yeah, all good. It's a good day down here at Trentham, so it's a bit of a surprise for this time of the year.
Yeah, pretty exciting book of rides. Starting in race number 1, a horse that you've had a good association with, Z Ace. This is the market for the first race on the program. It's the Norm Bevan Memorial Maiden Steeplechase, and Z Ace is $2.50, $2.90 Z Man Infoxicated, I should say, $5. Kangaroo is at $8. What's the key for Z Ace, and what do you hope to happen for you to get that win out of him over the steeplechase fences today, Sean?
Yeah, well, he's a very consistent horse. He's always, in the money or not far away. Obviously, he ran second in our Puni steeplechase last time I rode, and that was a huge effort for a maidener. He just come up against a pretty good horse, and then he's gone to Hawke's Bay last week and run on a good track and run another good race. I think today would just be great to get a win out of him and get a bit of confidence going forward to some bigger assignments.
Where do you think he could get to, ability-wise?
Well, he'll relish in the wet track today. That's his biggest asset, that he can cop the wet ground. So that's probably what put him back a peg or 2 last time at Hawke's Bay. On the wet track, he's a pretty tough horse, and I'd like to think he's pretty close at winning today.
Race number 2 is the Super Fence Maiden Hurdle, and a horse that's finished second over the hurdle fences his last couple of starts is Son of Guillotine in Summer Warrior. Gobstopper, obviously a very exciting horse, beat him a couple of starts ago, and then Sanasi last time. How's this horse in preparation for today?
Yeah, he's run some good races. He's still learning about the game. He's probably come up against a couple of nice horses in the North Island as well. So if he runs as consistent as what he has been, I'd say he'd be close to winning today.
Other runners in the race include Zartan, Abagus, Alfie D is at $7.50. It's a maiden hurdle with a bit of depth. Sort of how do you see the opposition?
Yeah, I think there's a few nice horses sort of kicking off in that maiden hurdle today. It's quite a big maiden hurdle field, and sort of there's a few that having their first go that look like they could be quite promising as well. Some horses coming from the flat to having their first start, so it's probably quite a strong maiden field.
Race number 3 is the feature hurdle on the program, the Arnica Smoker Wellington Hurdle, and Galante's $3.50, Bad Boy Brown's $3.60, Laykeeper with Emily Farr to rides at $4.60, and Sean, you're on Tamira, who's at $9.50. What are your expectations from him today, and what did you make of his last start at Hastings?
Yeah, well, obviously the start before he won the Kenny Brown Hurdle on a wet track, I think just going to Hawke's Bay on the good track, I think he's probably just not that quick on that better ground. I think trying him today on the wet track could bring them back a peg or two to him, and like he is a good horse, so they just thought have a go at the race today. There's not a real big field, so but yeah, obviously there's a couple of real good ones coming through, but I think he wouldn't be too far away.
Yeah, Galante obviously has been very impressive. Emily Farr rides Laykeeper. Any insight as to how well that horse is?
I think Laykeeper's definitely the best horse in the race. He's probably been a run short last time. You know, he hasn't had that many runs over hurdles and that, and he's probably looking to peak today. I would have thought, I think Galante is definitely beatable. I don't think he's the best horse in the race. I think probably a horse like Bad Boy Brown looks pretty well conditioned for the race. He's won well here last start, and Harvey Wilson's probably got him ready to go for this. And I'd say them is the two hardest to beat.
It sounds like you've got a bit of confidence in Tamira as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's a good horse on his day. I think this last time the track was too good, and he probably needed the run too. And if you look at it, the rest of his form, he's always thereabouts in all these good races.
Race number 5 is the Grant Plumbing Wellington Steeplechase, and you're back aboard Chocolate Fish. What have you made of his preparation in the lead up to sort of the Wellington Steeplechase today? How is he? What feel has he given you, and do you feel that he's going the right way and improving for this?
Yeah, his preparation this year's been great. You know, it's pretty much the same as last year. His run at Hawke's Bay was huge, really. I think there was a lot of improvement in him going out of that. And the thing with him, he's just a really slow horse. No disrespect to the horse, but he just wants 5,000 metres plus, and there's not many races around in New Zealand that have them. And lucky enough, he's in one today. You know, we got beat by Wiseman Say just last year, so hopefully he's a little bit better horse than that last year, and he shouldn't be far away.
Yeah, sounds like he just will stay all day for you.
Yeah, exactly. Like he only finds form when his form's great, really. At every big race in New Zealand, he's running seconds or thirds or fourths, you know, and then when you get him up to 5,000 metres plus, he's right in the finish, like obviously the Great Northern and the Grand National. So, yeah, I think it's a good race from today. If the only danger I thought is obviously Perry Mason's won it doing well, that he might not be able to get the trip, and you'd think maybe a horse like Wiseman Say could find form. He's probably the one to beat. Okay,
here are Sean Phelan's book of rides, and going through them in summary: ZA Summer Warrior, Tamira and Chocolate Fish. Sean, which of those is the best winning chance from your perspective?
Probably ZA in the first, to be honest. There's not many. He's in the maiden chase today, wet track, bog Wellington. He's gone around the figure of 8 before. I'd say he's probably my best ride. I'm not going to do a Rob here and say it, but it's my gift. I'd like to think, I could kick the AFL today with him.
We do love a promo though, but we do appreciate your time. Sean Phelan there giving us his thoughts on his 4 rides that he has at Trentham, and as we always say to our guests, particularly our riding guests, safe travels today on the track, safe passage to you and your mounts. That was Sean Phelan talking about a featured jumps day at Trentham. Just change gear a little bit when the Punters Lounge Live returns. It'll be Australia, Caulfield and also Rosehill. They're not in the cricket. We'll talk racing though. We're in the cricket. The Black Caps, they're in the World Cup final. That's tomorrow. Better take a break.
Gonna push it harder, gonna climb up higher. It's like I just can't
The Largy Downs brings you the Punters Lounge live this morning. Ben Ascari is our form analyst based in Melbourne, and it's time now to discuss some of the better chances at Caulfield. Good morning, Ben. How's Melbourne today?
Yeah, good morning. It's pretty wet and wintry again here in Caulfield today. So we're overcast, it's drizzling, we're a soft 7. Wouldn't surprise me if we got into the heavy range today.
Okay, always a challenge to analyse the form given variable track conditions. Here is the market for the first race that we're going to take a look at. It's the 7th, where Gododin is $4. Golden Halo's come up $4.60. Sweet Jazz $5 and Pinion $6.50. This is tab.co.nz, option 184 if you want to bet on the win market. Ben, how did you see this?
Yeah, this is the race I was most keen on today in the shape of Golden Halo. I think she probably deserves to be favourite. I thought she'd come up favourite. There's been a few scratchings out of the race. I probably thought she'd be sub $4 and think that price you've just quoted there, $4.60, still represents some nice value about her. She was terrific in the AR Creswick Series final against the boys last time out. G-Tra pretty comfortably had her measure, but she still beat some pretty handy horses there. Back against her own sex today. I think she's going to be really well placed. I think she'll settle off the speed, get to the middle of the track, and hopefully by race 7 she's going to be really suited by that sort of a run. So, yeah, I thought she deserved to be clear favourite. I was surprised that she isn't favourite, but I guess that means that hopefully we've got a nice betting opportunity.
Yeah, your assessment of her Swan Hill performance, I obviously thought that it would stand her a good stead at Flemington, even though, as you mentioned, she was well beaten by G-Tra. But for today, given that it is a rain-affected track and it was at Swan Hill, some confidence from that?
Yeah, I think Swan Hill was more hearing her trainer, just about giving her that confidence booster. It had been a while since she'd won. She'd been contesting probably much stronger races than today for a lot of her career after showing a lot of promise when formerly with Darren Weir. And I think that was just a confidence booster and dead set. You're not going to see too many easier wins than the way she put them away at Swan Hill. It was a very pretty watch for the punters that backed her there. So I like what Daniel Bowman did there, taking her to Swan Hill just to give her that confidence booster. She backed it up with another good run at Flemington. And even, if you're going, I think, 3 starts back in Adelaide, she just had no luck given the pattern. I'd ignore that run. She didn't have any chance getting back into the middle of the track that day. And 4 starts ago, she ran some of the fastest closing sectionals at Group 2 level in a Euclid Stakes. So I think she really finds a winnable race today.
Excellent. And race number 9, Villamont lines up. Is this horse ready to go?
Well, I heard his trainer this morning say it's a bit of a D-day for him, and he never has any confidence with the horse, so that didn't really help the confidence levels. But I think it's a great race for him. I've liked the way he's come back this preparation. He's had 3 runs back from a long break, including 2 runs at 1400. He had no luck 2 back, and then last start, I liked his work over the concluding stages. He gave me the impression there that he's a horse looking for further. He couldn't quite sprint with some of the horses that finished ahead of him that day, but he was really strong to and through the line, and I think the step up to 1700 metres is going to be ideal. I think this race has less depth. If he can find his best form, he ran 4th in an Australian Guineas. He was a winner at stakes level last preparation, and the key is all that best form's been around the 1600 metre mark. 1700 today should be ideal. He really gets his chance to bounce back into the winner's soil again today. And for me, a bit like Golden Halo, the big thing with Villamont is just his price. He's, I think, around the $6 mark this morning. I think he's probably deserves to be a fair bit shorter than that. And in a pretty thin race in terms of what he's contested throughout most of his career, I think he gets his chance to bounce back today. There's no more excuses for Villamont.
Yeah, tasty prices $4.60 and $6 for the 2 you've presented thus far. How about in race number 3? You've got one for us there?
Yeah, in terms of a real roughie at a price here that I think can run a bit of a race with the punters, probably more on an each-way basis, perhaps 1 by 3, triple the amount to place, is race 3, number 5, Aaron Cheney. He's a horse that from barrier 1 I think can be right there on the speed. 2 and 3 starts ago, he had some form around Be Good to Your Mother, who I think is going to be a really smart horse come the springtime. That was at 1400 metres. He ran 2nd to Be Good to Your Mother at Flemington. He was 3rd behind Be Good to Your Mother at Caulfield. He then went back to 1200 metres at Flemington. It was just a completely unsuitable race for him. I don't think he has the sharpness to contest a 1,200-metre race down the straight, but back around the bend up to 1,400. The form 2 and 3 starts ago tells me he's a much better chance than a $18, $19 chances I'm seeing here in the market at the moment. So I think he can run a real cheeky race at a huge price.
Excellent. Ben Ascari, Racing.com form analyst. Thanks for your time this morning. The Punters Lounge Live at Caulfield Best Bets. 7 bar 2 Golden Halo, and others include race 3, Aaron Cheney, and race number 9, Villamont. From Victoria to New South Wales on the Punters Lounge Live, and Brad Gray, Racing New South Wales and Sky Racing form analyst, joins us on the phone to discuss some of the key events and the better bets from Rosehill. Good morning, Brad. What presents today?
Yeah, good morning, Jason. We're a heavy 8 at the moment. There is a little bit of hope around that we will get to a 7, but we had an unexpected little drizzle this morning, which might just keep us in the heavy range. But as we know, Rosehill generally plays pretty fairly, so expect the winners to be coming from everywhere.
The 7th race on the card is the Winter Stakes at 10 minutes past 5 New Zealand time, betting on tab.co.nz with Eckstein, the $5.50 favourite. First hand at 6, a little bit of competition and betting by the looks of this market. Brad, how did you see the race?
Yeah, $5 the field, isn't it? It's a tricky little race for punters to work out. I'm not going to ignore the obvious here in Gouloir. Now, the Civic Stakes does look the right reference. We're going to have a look at that replay now, and you can see Gouloir making a long, sustained run down the outside. The beauty about this horse is that not only he loves the wet track. Rachel King came back after this day and said, it's been a while since I've had one travel so sweetly in heavy ground, but he's versatile enough to take up a spot. So I think drawn 1, he'll be able to settle somewhere midfield, maybe even a little bit forward of that. And if he gets the right split, I think he's certainly very hard to beat. You can see Nicky's goal there for Gary Portelli was a little bit unlucky. I doubt it would have beaten Gouloir, but it certainly would have finished right on its heels had it got clear in halfway down the straight there. 53 kilos on its back, and it's a mare that absolutely thrives in these wet conditions and hasn't been going any better. This is just flying, this horse. So I think it certainly has to be respected as well. I do have Eckstein somewhere thereabouts. She is a classy horse coming back from the Tiara. Chris Waller's now got the job of ticking her over. She's probably close to the breeding barn, but she's pretty classy, as I say. But I think Gouloir's a bet in the race. I'm surprised that the bookies are being as generous as they are.
Yeah, it's an interesting sort of race. Obviously, we saw the key form reference with many runners coming out of that to this event today, the Winter Stakes. How about an earlier race on the card, race number 5, looking at the market for the ATC Foundation Handicap? Spiritual Pursuit has come up an odds-on favourite. Are we lobbing on this? Are we attacking?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we are. We're attacking it with a bit of aggression. I think this looks the lock of the day. You probably don't need me to come on and tell the punters that, but I think this horse has to go backwards to be losing this race, and that's the profile you want when you're taking the short odds about these kind of horses. Deity is the second favourite, and Spiritual Pursuit's already handed that horse pretty easily there last time out. So you can see that Invictus Salute form from last time looks solid. Invictus Salute came out and won last week. Now you look through this horse's form and you can see a second there, third up last campaign in the Spark of Life at Rosehill. That was over 1,100 metres on a soft deck. Very similar circumstances here in that day, split baller and profit thumb. So if she reproduces anything like that, she should be winning and winning pretty comfortably. Gets the claim of Sam Clinton, so looks really well treated with 57 kilos straight to the front. Loves the wet. I'd be surprised if she got rolled here.
I know that's the one of your main win bets for the day, but for that race, would you be tempted by a Quinella with Deity?
Yeah, they do look the 2, which goes to show how much of a stranglehold that Spiritual Pursuit has on the race. The other one to probably factor in is Miss X Factor up the top. I think 1,200 metres back to 11 is certainly in her favour because she just was a little bit vulnerable there at the end of 12, her last couple of runs.
So race number 5, number 2, Spiritual Pursuit, the best bet. How about other plays on the Rosehill card for you, Brad?
Yeah, there's a couple. I think race 2, number 2, Face Toss, will have little trouble turning tables on Call Me Royal from last time out to the 1,500 metres in a race with a little bit more tempo. Should get the job done. I think he's going the right way and he'll go on to much bigger and better things. And he's a pretty handy horse on breeding. It suggests that the mile's going to be right up his alley. Waking moment for Chris Waller. Now, you have to try and ignore the fact that it's one from 20. Chris Waller's only had the horse to 2 starts, and they've both been really good. There's a real sense of timing about her third up, and she sneaks in with 51 kilos. I think of all the horses with a sense of timing about it on the Rosehill card, she's the one. And one a little bit odd, so we can keep up our sleeve for later, is Mahalunga. He's a class horse in the race, hence why 60 kilos. He comes down to 57 after the claim of Brock Ryan. That's race 8, number 1. But you go through his form last campaign, and it was very good. He beat Special Missile only 2.5 lengths of trekking at Scone one day in listed grade when he started $6. So we haven't seen him for a couple of months. He put up lane there after his last run at Randwick, but you could take him on trust, and he reproduces anything like we saw last campaign. I think he's going to be right in the finish at double-figure odds.
He's certainly got a handy record on slow tracks and has placed on heavy before. Brad Gray, Racing New South Wales and Sky Racing foreman, as we thank him for his time. And you can check out those bets summarised on the TAB website /Punters. The Punters Lounge Live continues on this Saturday morning. It's New Zealand racing and Trentham on a big jumping day there with Bevan Sweeney coming up.
Well, let me tell you, Mike, this is my gift for yous today. Will be my gift to win. I think that'll win today.
But he labelled it his gift to the punters today, Robbie Hannam, and have a look at him go now. My gift ripped them apart stride by stride and got him by a dozen.
Robbie Hannam this morning. I used to watch that Punters Lounge. He said, back this one, people, and you'll get a result, and you have.
A great friend of the show, Robbie the Pope Hannam, scoring with My Gift last week and labelling it on this show, brought to you by Valachi Downs. Seeing it as big as Bevan Sweeney as well, and Shakapala's son, the white ball, he's seeing it like peaches. And Sweens, you're seeing the winners very much the same. Good morning to you. What's at Trentham today?
Good morning to you, Jason. Nice day here at Trentham today for a winter meeting that generally we have terrible weather conditions, but today it's lovely. Track conditions, well, they're going to be this for the remainder of the winter really here at Trentham. There hasn't been a lot of rain through the week, 7 mils when talking to Mark Biddle, but that was just enough to keep it in that very deep track conditions. Now, if we can put the head-on tower online here, team, we'll be able to see with this rail movement, Jason. This is going to be very interesting throughout the early part of the program especially. You can probably see through that shot and more accurately from this shot from the head tower that down towards the inside there is 5 metres of very fresh new ground. Out wider, you can see the damage that has been done over the last couple of months when racing has been held here at Trentham. The inside 5 metres looks pristine. So, early part of the program, you would imagine that horses are going to try and cling to that inside part of the track. And then when we get into those 3 legs of pick 6, who will know where they'll be heading to, because the track will definitely, in my mind, change throughout the day as that inside part of the track does wear. But look, I think the legs here of pick 6 are a little bit easier than at Palmerston North last week, so hopefully we can get a result, Jace.
Another new pair of shoes coming up. That sounds good. Now, race number 3 is the first leg that we will look at, and it's the Anuka Smoker Wellington Hurdle. Galante $2.50, Bad Boy Brown $3.60, Lake Keeper $4.60. Stephen Hunt, we spoke with Sean Phelan just a little bit earlier. He was pretty confident with Tamira, but he also had a lot of respect for Lake Keeper. What's the money saying?
Punter's very keen on the Manawa 2 hurdles winner, number 3 Galante. Jason, $2.50, got as high as $2.60, bought back into 2.5, ran about 30 minutes ago on the back of a 3.5k bet, a $3,500 bet around Galante to get its price to $2.50. So that's the one they like in the first of the features over the sticks today at Trentham. Bad Boy Brown, very solid in that second line of betting, opened at $4 on Wednesday, now trading at $3.60. Laykeeper on the drift, on the warm support on the first 2 I've mentioned, $4.20 out to $4.60 around Laykeeper. Tamira's been well supported, $9.50, got as high as 11, that's its top peak, brought back into 9.5 this morning around Tamira. And outside that, it's been pretty friendless. So your best leaders, round number 3 Galante, who withdrew and scratched on the back of better track conditions at Hastings, will relish the heavy 11 at Trentham today.
How did you see the third here, Sweens?
Look, I was against Galante in this particular race. A couple of reasons why. Harvey Wilson's stable is absolutely flying at the present moment. His team is up and running, and Harvey always presents his horses very, very fit now. Bad Boy Brown beat Galante home here 2 starts ago. There's a swing in the weights towards Bad Boy Brown today. I thought the effort on the flat in the amateur riders race was outstanding behind a smart stayer and Lookout, who goes around later on in the program, only beaten 2 lengths and improved 3-4 wide down the back. So he is absolutely flying. His performance 2 starts ago in the open hurdle here was very, very good. I don't think he's going to be in front at the 200 metre mark, but I think he'll be having a look at Galante late in this particular race, and he has been a horse who has been a little bit rogue in his manners. Not now. Harvey's got him absolutely dead set, head down and trying to win. So I'm going with him over Galante, who was very, very good at Awapuni, but the record around Bad Boy Brown here at the track is the big key for mine. Tamara, very good jumper for Toby Orchard. I'll put that in for third, and then lay keeper. Listen to Sean Phelan there. Don't want to be leaving this horse out. He suggests it's the best horse in the race, and it's got a couple of runs under the belt now, so expect improvement there. First look at Trentham, that's always some sort of consideration when horses do come here. But I'll make them 4, 3, 2 and 1 in race number 3.
That's the feature hurdle. The Wellington Steeplechase is the 5th, and this is how the market shapes up for it. It's brought to you by Grant Plumbing, as it has been over the past few years or maybe longer. Perry Mason, $2.90, Chocolate Fish, $3.50. Is it that clear cut between those two, Steve, or is there some support for Gagarin and maybe others?
Maybe others, not so much Gagarin, even though it's a winning formula the Myers team tend to do, alternating between the jumps and the flat around Gagarin on the quick backup from last Sunday at Te Araha. But just back up at the top of the block, Perry Mason, very solid, 3 into 290, looks set to start fave in the open steeple. Chocolate Fish holds 2 times more money than the current favourite in Perry Mason, but pretty happy to trade at $3.50. Defending champ Wise Men Say, 11 out to 12, but currently a losing result, but again, happy to trade at the double figure price. A couple they are speaking in this middle to end market, Zamora and Magic Wonder. In particular, Magic Wonder, we accepted a $500 bet on Wednesday afternoon around this runner at 17s, now trading as low as 13. And Zamora, also that Te Araha form down from, or up from the north down to the Trentham venue, has been well spec 17 into 13, just to spice up potentially exotic bet types, trifectas, first fours.
Evan Sweeney, the sleeping patterns have been shot for the past month. Last night was the same, but it wasn't because of the cricket or other sport. It was thinking about Wise Men Say and why on earth would one drop it? And it's now 12 to 1 and trying to think why. And I mean, the 2 runs that he's had, I don't know, what have you made of them?
Poor last start, for sure. And I went back through his last couple of seasons last night to just try and make a comparison of where his lead-up runs into this race have been prior, and they're simply not as good. That said, class is permanent, and you've got class on the saddle. Class is a trainer and a class horse. So I'm with you. I'm going to have to include this horse in my selections. I am going to be with Chocolate Fish. I just think there's a lot of factors here that come into Chocolate Fish's favour with these track conditions. It's going to be very, very deep here. Went really good at Hastings on a much better winter track, Chocolate Fish. Didn't expect that on those sort of track conditions. I thought they'd just go too quick for him. Sean said he's slow. He is. But he's slow for a long time, and others get slower while he's going at the same speed. So on a track like today, although they will be going through the centre of the track, which, speaking to Mark, is, as per normal, much better than the track in its true state. So through the centre, it's a lot better. So that will play slightly against him, but I think when they hit the course proper, that's when he really comes into play, Chocolate Fish, for Sean Phelan. So on top for mine, Perry Mason, well, there's a question mark at the 5,500 metres, but there's no question mark about the training partnership and the riders, so be trusting in the 3. Wise Men Say for third. There may be a turnaround in form here. There will be at some point in the season at one of these extreme distances. I've got no doubt about that. Whether it's today, question marks, but I'm not leaving him out for a lot of reasons. And then Gagarin, there's too much good form around this horse. What it did as a hurdler, supreme. Steeplechasing, it's coming into it nicely now. Gagarin, a horse that Sam Trotter thought was retired. It just popped up at the races and again has had some wonderful success. So I'm 2, 3, 1 and 4. I've got respect around the 7 and the 8. But they're going to some pretty deep, dark places where they haven't been to this point in their careers today. So I'll watch and see around a couple of talented horses, the 7 and the 8.
It's like NRL referee Matt Checken. I thought he retired last season, but he's been refereeing this season. I don't know. Anyway, slightly different, I guess. The Parliamentary is brought to you by Vernon and Vasey Truck Parts. $3.80 Richard of York, $4.60 Lookout. Sylvester 5, Dr. Watson Little Miss Swiss is at 8. Strolling Vagabond's at 6. Was there some money for Strolling Vagabond earlier in the week, Stephen?
There was, Jason. It's coming $1 full point, $7 we offered on Wednesday, now into 6 with a 2 kg claim. You can claim in this particular feature on the flat, the Parliamentary. A few of them down the bottom not needing the claim. Robert Hannum on Lookout and Grinner to be ridden by the Premiership winner and Lisa Allpress. Look, in terms of money, we touched at the top of the show. Richard of York, clearly the best back runner, not just in this race, but up and down the card at Trentham. Off a peak of $4, now $3.80. In terms of a saver, if you're looking for pick 6 selections, Lookout opened at $7, now to $4.60. And a lot of that move has just come in the last hour or two. You could have got as high as $6 this morning, now travelling at $4.60. The K team and Sylvester and Dr. Watson. In this terms, no lead there. They match dollar for dollar around Sylvester and Dr. Watson. We've touched on Strolling Vagabond and also a little bit of specking around Lil Miss Swiss up from the south. 7, even though it's out to $8. Happy to trade at $8, but currently a losing result. And Grinner on the back of a couple of wins on lower grades has been spec'd at that double figure price. But the best lead clearly is with the favourite of Richard of York. But as a market mover just in the last few hours, you have to go no further than Lookout number 8.
That's a good lead, good information. Appreciate that, Stephen, particularly for those that are really starting to get serious with their pick 6 combinations. Lookout is a horse that could roll forward. Trisha Lee, Richard of York and Strolling Vagabond should be able to find good spots. This the Form Pro Speed Map. Is that sort of how you saw things, what you see there, Sweens?
Yeah, pretty similar to that. I wasn't convinced who was going to lead. I thought Trisha Lee probably more than likely going to be the leader in a race like this, and sitting outside possibly Strolling Vagabond will push forward. It's an interesting differential in prices, the 8 and the 9. Really interesting differential. I thought the Grinner's been outstanding in its last 2. Lookout came out of an amateur riders race last time in 72 grade, albeit so it's a very different price, interesting price differential there. Look, I'm going with experience over youth and enthusiasm here. You've got Dr. Watson, Sylvester, Sylvia Kay trains, the 2 tough horses who've been at Trentham and handled track conditions. Dr. Watson, not quite as big, strong and physical as Sylvester, so the weight comes off Dr. Watson. 4 kilos off down to the 56. He's right in the mix with that. Sylvester won't be bothered with the 59. That's just his physique. Chris Johnson aboard, those 2 in for sure. Richard of York, now only one man moved this, and that's you in the studio, because yesterday very keen, so now everyone's in. A little bit like Desi Coppins now, J-Tan. Richard of York certainly has that action that we saw here last time to suggest it'll plough through these track conditions. It was very, very good, albeit CD2 Tadeko was second in that race, and that always niggles me, but he can run on these very wet track conditions. So I'm going 1, 6 and 3 for my selections, and I think in pick 6 I'll hold with those. I'm going to throw an 8 now with all the money that is coming, but I was pretty keen in pick 6, just had the 1, 3 and 6 in the first leg.
Yes, complimenting me and likening me to the Silver Fox. It's the nicest thing you've ever said, Sweens. But until those Crocs get on my feet, I will be no Des Coppins, that's for sure. Okay, this is the market for the next on the program that we'll look at. The El Cheapo Cars White Handicap. Mauna Kea's $3.40, $3.60 for De Gaulle. Dolcetto is at $5, and then you've got our Bandit at $6. Now, you mentioned the money for our Bandit earlier, Stephen Hunt. Has that sort of been the case the last hour since?
You're well back this morning, Jason. I just had to put it up there. It's a very even go. 7 going around, and they've all had at some stage during the week accounted for a little bit of support, including Dalcetto at the top of the book, even though it has to carry top weight of 61.5, no claim. 450, got out to 5.5, brought back into $5 this morning. With the favourite Mauna Kea, well supported, 340, touched 320, just back out to the even price that we opened up at $3.40. De Gaulle's well supported, 420 into $3.60, has a bit of rosewood form with 54 on its back. We've touched on our Bandit, Flying Sardine, a game from the south and the Tyler team, well supported at $9. Dougie on the quick backup at $9, not friendless. And Reyes right at $14. The rank outsider just shows you how competitive the field is at a $14 price, has not been friendless. So no strong lead. It looks to be a leg in the pick 6 that you might have to take at least 3 or 4 in a 7-horse field.
Yeah, that's the niggly thing, isn't it? A small field and having to take most of the runners or a lot of the runners in there. You'd prefer to just take one. But anyway, this is the Form Pro Speed Map. And Mauna Kea, Evan Sweeney, looks as though he can lead. Now, you've always had a lot of time for this horse. Second up at Trentham, do we stick with the ship?
I will be, Jason, for sure. This was a race field or very, very light, so I'm going light. You've mentioned the only niggle in my mind. It was a big, big effort at Otaki on a tough testing track condition to win. So what does that take out of this horse? Because you see it here, our Bandit smoking on its back, and you think, well, its conditions just going to fall away here late in this race, but this is just not the attitude of this horse. Since it's been with the Moseys, Alan Sherrick did all the groundwork on this particular horse, and it's gone to the Moseys, and since then it's been very, very good. This day it had Hazel Chauffeur aboard, and it was a little bit of a difficult ride for her, but the horse just keeps on trying and holds out our Bandit, who was back in form this day. Look, for me, when you look through all these fields and you've got so many strange factors, track conditions, who will handle, who won't, who's fit enough, all those sort of factors, look for the best weighted horse, best performed horse. And Mauna Kea is it for me today at 54.5 kilos. Look, if you go back 2 starts, it was 7 lengths off Dan's Dance over 1,600 metres in Group 1 company, and Dan's Dance probably won that race by 5 or 6. So that's pretty good form for a race like this. It's bounced back on wet track conditions, fresh up to win. It's getting with 54.5 on its back against horses like De Gaulle, who was always going to get 54, but Mauna Kea in theory should have got a lot more weight without Dolcetto in the race. So Mauna Kea is the one. If I'm going to take 2, I'm going to throw in De Gaulle because it's got form next to our very best wet track miler in Rosewood. It was a good effort that day, so 2 and 6. I'm not going to go with Dolcetto today, although he's in my selections. I think that is just too big an imposter for him, giving weight to some reasonable horses. And it was good to see our Bandit back in form, but Jace, I'm going light. One ticket's going to have the 2 and the 2 only, and the next ticket's going to just have the 2 and the 6.
Okay, thanks for your thoughts on the second leg of the Turbo terminating pick 6 in the 7th race at Trentham, the 8th, the last. For the Trentham meeting is the Woodridge Homes 1400, where $3.60 is the quote at the moment for Tavies Court, $4.50 Manolo. Obviously the biggest field of the Trentham side of the terminating Turbo pick 6, Stephen Hunt. Can you give us many leads?
The interesting race, fascinating just to see how this race develops in the next few hours. But in the last 24 hours, Jason, Tavi Court, Manolo on their current prices $3.60, $4.50 respectively. We've rated them a 50% chance that the winner will come out of the top 2 in the market, but customers believe that the race has a bit more depth to that, and they're willing to spec 4 or 5 other horses outside the top 2. One of them being Zephyr Z at $15 to $14. And the other one, which I mentioned at the top of the show, Call Me Jack, and we've had money since I mentioned. They're around about an hour or so ago, around Call Me Jack. Opened at $12, was as high as $8 when I mentioned it earlier on. It's now trading at $7. Now, a horse that won at $18, won against the betting trend last time, Call Me Jack, and it's back in trip, but it's probably going to play more like a mile the last race, Call Me Jack, but it did win by 15 lengths, and it's one of those form lines you just got to trust on the eye coming out of Wanganui.
Yeah, when they win by big margins like that, it's not easy to assess, but we have seen horses go on having won by big margins in the last couple of weeks. Tavies Court and Delmar, the pace horses in the race. How did you assess it, Bevan?
I was impressed with Manolo at Awapuni and impressed at Otaki. Interesting sort of horse mind-wise, I think. It doesn't concentrate overly well, but when it got through its gears at Awapuni, it was the performance of the day. And Zella's a tough horse. He got back at Otaki on a tight turning track. I don't think that suits him. You love the big open spaces here at Trentham. So I thought he offered you great value. Zephyr Z is my best value on the program. Now, you have to take this mare on trust. Or the Skelding on trust, apologies, because really disappointed me last time, albeit in a nice form line race. I'm Nikita taking that out, who had won so well at New Plymouth, came here, delivered again, and has been a bit of a plunge horse with the bookmakers on more than one occasion. I thought at New Plymouth this horse probably should have won with a little bit of luck. If you go back through its form lines, it is a very adept wet track horse, Zephyr Z. Now, I'm forgiving last start. I'm a slightly disappointed and niggly about that performance, but I trust in Johnny Wheeler. Rosie Myers back here riding in NZ after her honeymoon. I just like this horse at the price. I think it's going to be right in the mix. So it is in for second over Manolo. Outside of that, Tavies Court was very, very good, albeit at Waverley, where, geez, if you jumped and found a leading position, you're impossible to beat. Lisa sums that track up beautifully, led, kicked, and they didn't really have a chance behind to catch this horse. It does handle wet track conditions, and the Clement team are always going well at this time of year, so that's in for it in third. And then, look, I wondered about Platinum Volos, second up. This horse is well capable. Call Me Jack. Just too many form lines coming out of Wanganui that aren't standing up. Miss Freelove, Hinipara. The only one that really stands up at the present moment is Scarlowy, but Scarlowy's an open handicapper, to be honest with you, so he's going to go on with it. So it's just getting really difficult in those Wanganui races to really push on with the form lines when they win by massive margins. So look, I think if you've got the spin, put Call Me Jack in. If you've got the spin, put Delmar in. Interesting move on Prince Turbo. That's a lot of money based on the last start performance. And I think we'll leave it there, Jason, in that leg of pick 6 to wrap up our 8th at 20 past 4. But look, I thought Manolo would love the big open wide spaces here, and Zephyr Z, I'm willing to have a large or reasonably strong look at that price each way on Zephyr Z late in our program.
Okay, so the laser is very much focused in on the terminating Turbo Pick 6, but Bevan, we're still going to run with the $100 strategy. How are you using your 100 today? I know you've got a lot more than that, but how would you use 100?
Just like 100. The wife just likes 100 too, just quietly, so we'll keep it at 100. Race 8, 20 minutes past 4. We're going to have a look at Mauna Kea. So my best bet is Mauna Kea. I've got 2 value bets. So I'm going to go with Tabard now. The other horse in that race that interests me is Hartley. Just too short, but this is a horse that was very good through the Hawke's Bay Carnival and looked really good at the trials, but fresh up these track conditions, just a little look there in ZFZ. So I'm going to put 50 on Mauna Kea. I'm going to put 25 on Tabard, 25 on ZFZ, and if we get one of those horses in the mix, then we'll have a positive result for the afternoon. So best weighted horse, Mauna Kea, 54.5 in that race. I think perfect. ZFZ's talented, and I keep on losing my money on Tabard Jace, but I'm convinced the ability is there, and I'm hoping above all that we find it one day that Tabard can put it all out there on the racetrack.
Bevan Sweeney at Trentham, we thank you for your thoughts this morning. Looking forward to the 8-race card, Wellington Hurdles and Steeplechase Day, the Champagne Turf, a very testing Champagne Turf. And today we hope the soup at Trentham is hot. At Ruakaka, Matthew Cross is presenting and we'll be picking up his thoughts for the best of the program there after this. The Punters Lounge Live continues. Matthew Cross, he's a long way from home. He's at Ruakaka bringing us the 8-race program on the card. And I understand, Matthew Cross, there are 2 soup offerings. One's a seafood-based one and the other is amber and cold. Which would you choose?
I'll go for the seafood-based one since we're in at Ruakaka. Not many racetracks, Jason, as you know, that 50 metres you've got the beach and then you've got the finish line of a race course. Beautiful conditions here today. You had Chris Gibbs on earlier. Interesting to hear his thoughts around his runners along with Michelle Bradley on the program today. A little bit of moisture on the track. There was some dew around, good cover of grass, dead 6 track conditions. I think it'll play pretty fair as it normally does here. 4.5 metres is the rail. Looking forward to taking you through the 8-race program with the feature coming up as race number 6, the ITM Jib Whangarei Gold Cup over 2,100 metres.
Well, the key's the sun, isn't it, Matthew? With the sun out, it should be a cracking day.
Absolutely, Jason. A little bit of a breeze coming across as well. A few people out walking the beach. A couple of people starting to roll into the racecourse too. Bruce Sherwin calling the action today. He's had a decent week with Team Raffles, of course, winning with Sacred Day and the Grafton Cup. Looking forward to seeing if Amazing As can continue the run of Azamore this week.
And that's the race that Amazing As features in, that we will start our preview with. The ITM Jib 1600. Amazing As 270, 390. Light Shadow, $4.20. Go Nicholas. Michael Guerin on the first call yesterday. Stephen Hunt was pretty keen on Go Nicholas. Chris Gibbs likes Amazing As. We've got Light Shadow in commission. Didn't mind specking that. What's the wash from the market?
Very keen on number 6, the local Amazing As, stepping up from 14 to 1,600 metres. Opened at 280, now trading at 270. Accounts around about 70% of total turnover, but on that $2.70 line is rated a 37% chance of winning. So you'd think that's going to come under around about that 240, 250 mark at some stage around Amazing As. So that has to be the strong lead here. Light Shadow well supported, 450 and a 390. Figures showed on its last one that it's up to this grade clearly, Light Shadow. So no surprise that that's been well backed in the second line. And Go Nicholas looks to be out of those top 3 running for us. Off a short note 380, now trading at 420. And outside that, Crafty Jess, 550 the field, have been quite friendless. So strong lead around the local number 6, Amazing As.
In terms of the Form Pro speed map, this is how things shape up for the 4th on the program. Magic of the Sun, probably the most likely to go forward. Irish Call has been taking a little bit of time to find his feet, but certainly over the 1,600 metres should be able to muster. And then you've got Where Will Crafty Jess Possession, Light Shadow, I see red. Probably Go Nicholas will be near the rear, and Amazing As around midfield. Is this sort of how you assess the map, Matthew?
Yeah, I'm going to kick a multi off here with Magic of the Sun, Jason. 205 is the price around it. I thought it was going to get a relatively uncontested lead over the 1,600 metres here without a lot of pressure. He's a winning chance as well and very backable on the each way at 650 and 205. The horse that we're going to take you back and have a look at is Go Nicholas. Last time to the races, finished 3rd here behind Hello It's Me. Magic of the Sun finishes into 4th position in this race, and I thought it was a good run considering from Magic of the Sun and the McKee colours in front. Raced against the pattern of the race where the winner came from from out wide on the track. So Magic of the Sun based on this, dropping back in grade, meets Go Nicholas a kilo better. He was very, very good though, Go Nicholas. Just some concerns about him getting back on what might be a moderate sort of a tempo here, that they may be able to kick off the front end. Amazing As may be in the same boat as that, but a really good push from Chris Gibbs on the Punters Lounge Live a little earlier around that runner. So taking out of that, Go Nicholas a little bit unlucky. He's been a horse that's taken a little bit of support in his most recent runs. He goes up 6 kilos for a very much in form Taiki Yanagita here today with the 2 kilo claim. But look, Jason, I think that we can take a little bit of confidence out of Magic of the Sun dropping back in grade and on speed type. Stephen McKee and Samantha Spratt, we know, are very potent when they find their way in front, and the damn Sunstrike gets its chance with Cologne going around in the last race on the program too. So for me, on top, I'm going to go with Magic of the Sun, just hoping that he gets a relatively easy lead. Amazing As, a big respect factor around him. I'd be a lot more confident if he was stepping up over a little bit more ground. And then in behind those, the 4 Late Shadow and number 2, Go Nicholas, right in the mix. But for our punters at home today, Jason, I think we'll take the 205 around Magic of the Sun to run top 3 and kick a little multi off there today.
Okay, good stuff. Hopefully that can bring a return, as can a play at the terminating Turbo Pick 6. Time now to pick things up with the 6th in the first league from Ruakaka for the Terminator. Red KN and his Cavalier share favouritism with Poker Face at $4.20. Luckily sourced at 21, very cheeky last time. The Kipling Girls at 10. In commission there is BT Junior at $7.50. Look, what's the lead here, Stephen? Is it his Cavalier? That certainly was a mover earlier in the week. What's the latest?
Yeah, spot on. They're definitely a market mover around number 3. He's Cavalier. Opened that second line of betting, Jason, at $4.50. Now trading $3.60 with Red KN each of 2. Poker Face in that third line of betting, well supported. In fact, holds double the investment v He's Cavalier, even though the market mover is round He's Cavalier. Poker Face, who profiles as a better betting prospect in terms that it's a local, Gibbs Bradley, v He's Cavalier with Rebecca Scott and James Hitton doing the training. So no surprise that Poker Face holds double the investment, but they're the ones that they're really targeting. Red KN, who did open lone favourite at $3.60, holds that price but looks to be running for us here in Petone. BT Junior 7 out to $7.50. The Kipling Girl and Karahuro, both notable drifters, $8.50 out to 10, 11 out to 14 respectively. The one you mentioned locally sourced, rock solid at $21, but your best leaders round He's Cavalier and Poker Face in today's Cup.
Yeah, certainly wasn't too far behind the aforementioned horses locally sourced last time. Is the Form Pro speed map. Matthew Cross, how did this match up with yours?
I thought the Kaharo might press forward with the big weight. He comes up a couple of kilos here. He might have a fresh mind off the back of a jumping trial win at Cambridge. We saw that with Gobstoppers, so I expect him and He's Cavalier to settle close to the speed. He's Cavalier was very brave and behind Poker Face last time out. Won the Ruakaka Cup back here in September and drops 3.5 kilos and meets Poker Face 3.5 kilos better than when they last raced and should settle a little handier to the speed. Poker Face is the horse we're taking a look at back on the 29th of June. Finishing second in this race was He's Cavalier and the Baldy Face, but he was pretty brave up the rail here, Poker Face. He's drawn to get a similar run off barrier number 1. Trudy Thornton takes the ride today, the opening price of $4.50. It'll be interesting to see what happens to that market. We'll be 5 races down by the time the feature comes this afternoon, so we'll have a fair idea of how the track's playing by then. So I think we can take a little bit of market confidence around the Whangarei Gold Cup this afternoon. So I'm going to land with Red KN on top, though. This horse is very good in its first 2 runs back to the races. Last time out at Tauranga I thought was nice. Carrying the 50.5, goes up 4 kilos today, but does have the aid of Craig Grills. This horse has a barrier draw that I think it can punch and find a spot. Red KN for Tony Pike and Craig Grills. He should be set for a good day with Bound to be Honoured heading around on the program too. Kaharo, I thought he was worthy of putting in the mix, and outside of that, runners 3 and 6, He's Cavalier and Poker Face. I'm always concerned about these horses stepping up in grade. I know he won pretty convincingly last time out, Jason Tan, but Poker Face, it's his biggest test to date today, stepping up in grade. He's a definite winning chance, but I thought that we could play a bit of value around runners 5 and 1 here in the 6th on the program. Interesting race, but as I say, some market confidence will play a part in how we attack the 6th on the program.
Definitely where Poker Face draws is a positive, isn't it? Should get that nice soft run again. Just depends on how far back on the rail Trudy Thornton will be able to have Poker Face travelling. The second leg of the Ruakaka side of Pick 6 is the Northland Business Systems, where Coppermine is $4.40. Bound to be honoured. They really backed her hard at Hastings last start, and she delivered in no uncertain terms. Mum's Jewel into $5. Now, when we were speaking with Chris Gibbs Stephen, saw that drop in from $5.50 live in front of our eyes. What's that money state looking like?
Yeah, well backed around number 7 Mums Jewel, and that includes a $1,200 bet at the 5.5 line, Jason, now trading $5, equal second favourite with the plunge horse last start, which you mentioned, around number 6, Bound to Be Honoured at Hastings. Hardly seeing a bean on it this time around, so I'm not too sure what's happening around number 6, Bound to Be Honoured. We could see the investment later on the day, but as it trades currently, that number 6 from the Pike stable will be running for us again in Petone. Copper Mine, the best lead, clearly the best back runner over the 1400 metres for the 72 gallopers. Opened at $5 on Thursday. Got as short as $4.80 this morning, now trading at $4.40 from that ace draw over leads, or maybe gets the gun run potentially of the likes of Mums Jewel or the stablemate Boogie Easy coming across from barrier 5. In that middle market, Brugal well supported, 7 into 650. Pacquiao's been a notable drifter, 950 out to 12, so cannot ride a ticket on Craig Grills's ride. And Badea, maybe an improver second up. At the moment in that middle market, a losing result, number 11 Badea at a $15 price, currently 15 off a higher 16.
Calder and Cameron, I get the feeling, very influential in determining the outcome of this race, notwithstanding the fact that they ride two key chances in Copper Mine and Mums Jewel, but because of where they both can sit, and that is on the lead. Will Copper Mine choose to hold the front with Andrew Calder, or will Matthew Cameron be able to come across either outside of Copper Mine or maybe even push for the front? What were your thoughts on that one, Matthew?
Well, Mums Jewel's getting to 1,400 metres again today, and we heard from Chris Gibbs on the show earlier, Jason, that he suggested that it should be much better at the 1,400. I just wonder if they'll really light her up early. I don't think that they will, with pace coming from Copper Mine and Bound to Be Honoured out wide. She jumped out of the machine like a greyhound last time to the races, and well, there's no reason why they wouldn't put her up on the speed once again. She's very, very well bred, of course, being the fault to Alibi. We know the job that it did in Singapore. Here is Bound to Be Honoured at Hawke's Bay, and I thought she was strong through the line here. She comes back right-handed. She has won this way around and has been a winner at 1,400 metres, as we're seeing here at Hastings last time out. She was used early in the race, and she just had them all chasing her the entire way down the Hawke's Bay straight, the daughter of Darcy Brahma. She's 3 runs under her belt. She's only been to Ruakaka once, and she actually fell at the end of her last campaign, so here's hoping that she doesn't remember the place for what happened last time she came here. I'm going to go with Bound to Be Honoured on top. I thought that there was a position to be had potentially outside of the leader, or maybe even in front for Bound to Be Honoured. Copper Mine from the inside. You can expect some pressure out wide, as we saw from the speed map from Boogie Easy, and as well as Mums Jewel out wide. I just wonder if Mums Jewel might just let them go around early and just try and take a spot just in behind the speed. Therefore, she might be pretty potent, but some confidence around the market lead. Race 7 on the card, 6 ahead of 7 and 1. And then outside of that, a bit of respect around Pacquiao and O'Guy. But you're right, Jason, the start of this race may well determine the finish.
Discussing the Ruakaka card with Matthew Cross and also Stephen Hunt at the racing desk. It's the last race on the program at Ruakaka that we're up to, the United Security Northland, where Makataka is $2.30. Fluribus at $5.50. Is that your opening line there, the difference between the two there, Stephen, or has that sort of moved a little bit with the money for Makataka?
Sorry, which horse, Jason?
Makataka and Fluribus, the difference. Has that sort of moved a little bit with the support for the one?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Floribus is not friendless. $5.50 on the warm support around Makataka, got as high as $6. Brought back in to its opening line of 5.5 this morning, but it's all about Makataka in terms of dollars invested. Holds 8 times more money than Floribus, Makataka, and looks to be one of the better back runners on the card at Ruakaka today. And you have to wait till the last. The dilemma in terms of pick 6 ways is, do you loan Makataka? If you don't, it's a very even go in terms of the spread of money. You might need to take 4 or 5. So Floribus in that second line we've touched on, warm support there. A little bit of specking around our Wonderland, which I mentioned at the top of the show, Jason, is now up to $14, but don't get put off. That's to just tighten up the overall percentage and the warm support on the favourite. My Sky, the blinkers, has been well specced at longer odds, opened at 15, got as high as 17, now trading at $14. And also Our Prom King, again, a notable drifter, but again, it profiles well for Ruakaka, a horse that likes to jump and run on speed, a losing result at $14. So look, Makataka well supported, 260 into 230, and accounts around about 80% of total turnover. So I wouldn't be surprised if the right result goes the right way for punters earlier in the card, it could start closer to even money.
Okay, this is the Form Pro speed map, and it does appear as though our Prom King is going to be punched forward, as is more often than not the case, to a forward spot. Cologne also has some speed, and Chris Gibbs on the show earlier on was pretty keen on seeing Makataka tend towards racing handier as long as it had some cover, even if it was 3 wide, rather than Matthew Cross settling in the back half of the field and having that little bit more ground to make up, which is interesting sort of thought at this stage.
Yeah, well, our Prom King and Cologne look the clear leaders, don't they? And therefore, I think that creates an opportunity out wide for Makataka to potentially come across and find some space, sort of 4th, 5th, 6th, maybe with a little bit of cover. And look, if he's trapped 3 wide in the early stages, there's enough of a run to that first bend, and I think they'll go hard enough that he should be able to slot in. And I think they'll go hard enough to set it up for him if he is potentially worse than midfield to come over the top of them at the 1,600 metres. He was very, very good last time to the races in the set weight and penalty, and I just love that when he hits top gear at about the 150, he just continues on with that, and he was very, very strong through the line, beating home Quizmaster. He's a smart horse, this Makataka. We heard from his first start that the team always had a pretty high opinion of him. They labelled it to us on the Punters Lounge Live, did that Makataka. So, look, I think we can go with a bit of confidence around that, and maybe on one ticket you can put him through as the anchor on pick 6. I know that, Jason, you're keen on Richard of York at Trentham, so you could go short with those 2 runners and try and make it a skinny spend, and then maybe take a percentage ticket where you take a couple of others around it, potentially Cologne, who will settle close to the speed, and Floribus. Andrew Calder and Richard Collett. Look, it's a horse probably in the same boat as Makataka. With that early pace, it might be able to find a spot a little handier than what he settled last time out, where he was a bit unlucky, beaten 4 lengths. But look, I think up the top of the book, he's definitely the horse to beat Jason Makataka, and he's got deserved support, the son of McPhee, on his home track, and lobs into the special condition maiden, I think, quite nicely with 2 wins under his belt. So we'll go with the 1 ahead of the 2, 9 and 11 in the last race on the program. We've got a strategy for you this afternoon as well, Jason, which we're going to kick off pretty early on in the program. Interested to hear from the team on this morning on the radio that there's been plenty of support for maybe a show-off on the first of the card. So we'll try and hear from David Green and Sean Ritchie around their 2 runners. Best of the day comes up in race number 5 as number 5, One Kotuku Street. Made it the best on the first call yesterday. This one by Ego Maps to get forward. The value bet today, I like the $10 around She's a Smash Hit in race number 2. We'll see what Sean Ritchie has to say about this one. Michael Coleman does the riding, has trial form around a runner who won here last time in Viola Vega. Finished second in a trial that Viola Vega finished 3rd in at Avondale. A filly by Showcasing draws barrier 6. She's a half to 6 winners. Was a head bobber in the trial at Avondale, and I think if she's forward enough today, then She's a Smash Hit represents some value in race number 2. We'll go 10 and win 30 a place on her to try and get our 100 back. One Kotuku Street, 30 to win on it in race number 5. And I think the multi of the day, as I mentioned on the first call yesterday, is Magic of the Sun and Bound to be Honoured. Both horses that map forward in their races. They're each way winning chances, but I think that the place around those 2, we can put a wee $30 spend together for that and see how we get on. Jason, looking forward to the program here this afternoon. Kicking off with the 2-year-olds in the first on the program. We'll try and hear from David Green and Sean Ritchie before the first on the card. Hear about maybe a show-off, Tumbleweed, as well as She's a Smash Hit, and also BT Junior later on for Sean Ritchie. Been a good show. Enjoyed the information from the bookmakers as well as the team down at Trentham today. Looking forward to the pick 6 as well. Jason, we'll be back shortly with the first of 8 here from Ruakaka.
Matthew Seafood Chowder Cross with his thoughts, and we're looking forward to the 8-race card with you, Matt. This is the Pick 6 update. It's 100,000 at the moment. We're hoping that it does exceed that. It starts at 5 minutes past 3, so you have around 3 hours, a bit over, to get your bets on. And if you have just joined us, it's terminating, it's turbo, it's across 2 venues. So the last 3 races at Trentham, the last 3 races at Ruakaka. We've put the minds of Matthew and Bevan Sweeney together to present to you a suggested pick 6 across their form analysis for the program. In the first leg there at Trentham, 1, 3 and 6, which is the 2 Sylvia K runners, Dr. Watson, Sylvester and Richard of York at Ruakaka, 5 and 6 in the 6th race there. Trentham race 7, Mauna Kea and also De Gaulle. 2 Ruakaka race number 7, and 6 is the top selection, Bound to be Honoured from Mum's Jewel and also Coppermine. Trentham race number 8, well, a few more runners here. 2, 3, 6, 7 and 9. Manolo, Tavi's Court, Platinum Volos, Prince Turbo, and also Z for Z, who is a value bet for Bevan Sweeney in the last race there at Ruakaka. Just the two runners, Makataka and Floribus, put forward by the team. So for $20, you'll get 10% of that suggested pick 6 put together by Sweens and also Matthew Cross. That is nearly the Punters Lounge Live, but the featured Valachi Downs runner today is at the or is the 5th race, I should say, from Ruakaka. Coming to the end of the show, losing my memory of how to speak. But race number 5, She's on Fire at Ruakaka, is the Valachi feature runners. Okay, so thanks to Bevan Sweeney, also to Matthew Cross, our guests, Sean Phelan and Chris Gibbs, our Australian correspondents, and Stephen Hunt. Quick little update, race number 1 coming up at Trentham, is it?
Well, Matty said he's going to try and get an interview down with David Green. Well, I can tell you a lot of money on maybe show-off, particularly in the last hour or two once the show has been in play, Jason, around this horse. Open at $2.60, now to $2.50. I believe this horse will jump and run. We've accepted a number of 4-figure bets, the biggest being $2,000 at $2.50 on maybe a show-off the Sun is showcasing. The last time it contested a 1,000-metre race was at Te Rapa, Jason, beating a certain horse of the name of Proper Bill on its CV. So there's a really good form reference around this 2-year-old. And quick, also, we've just paid out on Lisa Allpress, winning the Jockey Premiership. She's got a 10-win lead with a couple of weeks to go. She opened at 280, or around about 12 months ago. She was unbackable odds in the last couple of weeks, so we've paid out on that particular option.
Excellent stuff. Thanks to you, Stephen Hunt. The first at Ruakaka, big bet alert, or big bets alert. Maybe a show-off runner number 1, and that goes at 27 minutes past 12. The first race meeting to begin here in New Zealand is at Trentham. That's coming up on TAB Trackside 1. That's the Punters Lounge this week. Hope you managed to back a winner or 5. Bye.